We've got NBA playoffs coming up this weekend. We've got Lakers and Minnesota Sunday, Clippers and Denver on Saturday. And joining us now, the man that is all things Clippers and all things Rodney NBA, the Saltier, host of the Clipper pregame, halftime, and postgame show, Adam Oslin. Adam, how are you?
What's up, Freddie? What's up, Rodney? Good to be back with you guys. How we doing?
Fantastic,
Doing
Adam.
well.
Fantastic. Yeah. You can look at Freddie. He's not even sweating it right now, Adam, because nothing started yet.
I'm sure he's itching to talk about the Lakers first. I know that.
No, let's do the Clippers first.
Oh,
Here,
really?
Let's do the
Okay.
Clippers. Let's get into it, Adam. How do you like their chances in this series?
If you're asking for a pick, I'll take the Clippers in 6 games. Now, could the Denver Nuggets easily win in 6 games too? Yeah, they have Nikola Jokic. He averaged a 31-point triple-double this season. I think he has a real case for winning his 4th regular season MVP. I think he's the best player in the game. So, typically, in an NBA playoff series, team with the best player wins. But the difference here is, can the Clippers have the 2nd best player in Kawhi, the 3rd best player in James Harden, and the 4th best player in Ivica Zubac before we get to Jamal Murray, who's got a hamstring injury and has been struggling at times this season to stay healthy and to just be consistent out there. They also have Aaron Gordon, who's a little bit banged up. It's Jokic versus the Clippers, and he's good enough to take down anybody. So it's a concern, but they were 21st in defense this season, the Denver Nuggets. They weren't good on that end. That was a big reason why Mike Malone and Calvin Booth both got fired. Like, what do you do when Jokic is not on the floor? That kind of tells you how good you are as an organization with your roster and with your coaching. And they were miserable whenever Jokic was off the floor. So if he's playing 42 minutes per game in this series, and he might, the Clippers better win those minutes when Jokic is off the floor, because Denver has not been good without him, guys. Basically, it's like this. They average 21 more points per 100 possessions when Jokic is out there on offense. They go from God tier on the offensive end with him out there on the floor to being the worst offense in the league without Nikola Jokic. So it's all about him and what he can do in this series, which tells you, okay, how much can Ivica Zubac slow him down? Well, traditionally, he has been one of the best guys to use against Nikola Jokic. He has been that good on that end. So, look, it's a different animal in a playoff series against Jokic. They came back down 3-1 in the bubble against the Clippers. Both teams are different now, but the Denver Nuggets do have championship pedigree. They won less than 2 years ago. So this is probably the premier series of the first round when you're talking about a series that could go 6 or 7.
I said this yesterday. We were kicking it around. Who has more pressure on him in these playoff series, Luka or James Harden? You know what I said? James Harden. I think for James Harden, he's had a good year. He's not performed well in the playoffs. I think for him, his legacy, he needs to have a good playoff run here. I'm not even saying the Clippers have to win, but he's got to play better.
Well,
do you agree?
It's funny. When we talk about James Harden, he's underperformed in the playoffs. It's like he's averaged 28 points per game in his playoff career, or something like that, the last 10 seasons. He's had really good moments, and he's had some bad moments in must-win games, and those have stood out to people more than anything. So it's fair to say it's a mixed bag with James Harden. You don't know what you're going to get at times. But I would still say there's probably more pressure on Luka because James Harden does have Kawhi Leonard as his number one option. Luka is the number one option for the Lakers over LeBron. That's what it is right now. So I think there's probably still more pressure on him. But, yeah, there's always going to be pressure on James Harden because of the doubters, because of the overall narrative with him in closeout games and not getting it done. But I also believe, and I got a long memory, that if the Houston Rockets were going up against the best team ever in the Golden State Warriors after they won 73 games and then added Kevin Durant, James Harden would probably have a championship by now. He was a victim of his era to some degree. They went 7 games against the best team ever, and the last 2 games he didn't have CP3 next to him for the Houston Rockets back in 2017 or 2018, whichever year you're talking about with Golden State. I think it was the first year in 2017. So, yeah, I know he's had his low moments, but if you go back to that playoff run he had 2 years ago with the Philadelphia 76ers and that big series against the Boston Celtics, well, he had 2 games without Joel Embiid where he dropped 40 points. But then at the end of the season, or the end of the series, he wasn't as good in Game 6, and so people remember that. But it's like, he's had some real highs in the playoffs as well. So I think you got to present the full picture of James Harden has been a mixed bag in playoff competition.
Yeah, and when you don't win it, people tend to focus on the negative parts. They don't focus on what you just mentioned because, oh, they had a chance to beat Golden State and they didn't do it. Well, you remember they didn't have CP3, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah. And
Or
nobody's
like
beating that Golden State team. Nobody is.
Yeah.
96 Bulls aren't beating that team.
Yeah, or him dropping 40 without Embiid. I mean, nobody wants to bring that up. It's just he failed or he didn't get it done when he's supposed to be this, triple-double guy in the playoffs every single game, and it doesn't work out that way. And I said the same thing. Luka is the guy. Luka, it's all Luka. Whereas James Harden with the Clippers, everybody knows if Kawhi doesn't go, they don't win regardless of what James Harden does.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think the pressure is certainly on Luka. When you look at this, though, Adam, and I'm going back to the Clippers now, they get past this first series. Do they become the team that absolutely nobody wants to play?
Yes, but they'll be playing OKC in the second round, which is a problem because they match up very well against the Clippers. They just have so many different defenders you can throw at Kawhi and at James Harden to slow them down. I still give them the edge in that series. Would they want to see the Clippers? No, because the Clippers have been the hottest team in the NBA the last 25% of the season. They've won 18 of their last 21 games. They have won 8 in a row heading into this series, and they just won in overtime up in San Francisco against the Golden State Warriors in one of the best regular season finales we've ever had. So they are on a special run right now. Some of this is going to depend on how this series goes. Some people have picked them to win in 5 over the Denver Nuggets. I have too much respect for Nikola Jokic to do that, but there are pathways where you can say, look at how flawed this roster is with the Denver Nuggets. How can the Clippers not figure this out? It's just Jokic is that good. But to your point, if they get out of the first round, if they continue to play at this high of a level, plenty of people have already been saying they can come out of the West. And I do believe that, but OKC in the second round, and they're going to be rested because they're going to take out whoever they get between the Dallas Mavericks and the Memphis Grizzlies in that first round in no more than 5 games. I wouldn't be shocked if they swept either of those teams. So they're going to be fully rested and waiting for the Clippers, who are likely to be in a dogfight of a first-round series against Denver.
All right, let's switch over now, talk about the Lakers. The public thinks the Lakers got a pretty good shot to win this whole thing now. What do you think?
I guess I'm going herd mentality. Maybe it's PTSD. I always feel like the Lakers are going to find a way. But this is a series of contrasting styles in major ways, where the Timberwolves want to play bigger. They want to have Gobert out there. They want to have Julius Randle, Naz Reid. I just don't see how they can impose their will on the Lakers. I think it's going to be the Lakers making them adjust to how they're playing out there. And if that happens, I think the series is going to be lost by the Minnesota Timberwolves because the big reason that they're 6th defensively this year and they were number 1 last year is Rudy Gobert. If he gets played off the court like we've seen so many times in the playoffs, if you go small and take him out to deep water like Luka did last year in the Western Conference Finals and then MF'd him over and over again after he hit that big shot on Rudy Gobert saying, you can't guard me, he's going to be taken off the floor. And that's one of their biggest advantages. And then all of a sudden there's all these driving lanes for the Lakers to pick at. And they have 3 guys who are very cerebral with high IQs and LeBron and Luka and Austin Reeves out there with the ball in their hands a ton. I just don't know how Minnesota's going to be able to match up with the Lakers' small ball, which, by the way, isn't that small. They'd still have a bunch of guys who are 6'7" and above out there that you're throwing at teams. With Rui Hachimura, yes, playing center, but I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's a bad matchup for them going up against the Lakers. It's going to be for a lot of teams. I see a path where the Lakers are headed to the Western Conference Finals. I don't even think...
Can we see the Lakers-Clippers?
It could be. Clippers got to handle business against Denver and OKC. They got the tougher path to get there. But I think the Lakers, they should be concerned about Golden State and if they win against the Houston Rockets because, honestly... I just don't see the Minnesota Timberwolves having a path to victory in this series against the Lakers. Unless Julius Randle, who has been a playoff sieve at times, who has really struggled throughout his playoff career. Ask New York Knicks fans. Unless Julius Randle has some monster series for them, unless Rudy Gobert can stay on the floor, which I just don't see happening, this Lakers team should win in 5 or 6 games at most. Honestly, Luka matchup hunts maybe better than anyone in the league, and they took what I think was a better Minnesota team last year with Karl Anthony Towns out in 5 games in the Western Conference Finals. Now, 3 of those games were very competitive and one-possession games, but Luka Doncic, he knows this matchup very well. He's going to pick at any weakness that is out there, and I think Minnesota, again, is going to have to adjust to them. So if they go small to play the Lakers game, who are they going to have out there? Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, and Ants. I just like the Lakers playing their style and what they're comfortable at more than I like Minnesota having to adjust and play at the Lakers' pace and somehow figuring out on the fly how we're going to basically come up with this small ball lineup that we haven't used much all season long, but now we have to out of necessity because we're taking on the Lakers. I don't see that working out that well for them. I mean, I expect them to win a game, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers won this thing in 5 because Luka, he averaged 32 on high efficiency against Minnesota last season, and they're going to make Ant have to guard. Like, he's their best option against Luka. Well, that's not good because he's going to be asked to do so much for them on the offensive end with Minnesota. They're going to wear out Anthony Edwards that way. It's just, Mike Conley, how's he going to play in this series? He's too small. They're going to matchup hunt him. They have too many flaws that the Lakers, their weaknesses are the Lakers' strengths in so many ways.
All right, both teams, Adam, Clippers, Lakers, you take Luka and LeBron, they're going to do their thing. You assume they're going to do their thing. You take Kawhi, James Harden going to do their thing. Who's the next guy that has to come up big for both teams?
I think Ivica Zubac, it's not just his defense on Nikola Jokic that has to be big because really you can only do so much to stop Jokic on offense. You're at his mercy a lot. The best way to take him out of his offense is to make Jokic have to work on the defensive end. So that means Ivica Zubac is going to have to show what he's been doing over the last half of this season, and he has turned into a top 5 center in this league. He ended up averaging 17 and 13 per game, but it was like 20 and 12 that he's been at over the last 2 months now. He's been an absolute monster, and he has been good in the past against Nikola Jokic. He's had one of his highest scoring games against him. So they have to trust him getting down on the block, showing off that he can finish with the right hand, with the left hand. Guys, he had the most hook shots in a season in the last 40 years in the NBA, Ivica Zubac, this season. Like, he was incredible, but he has to make Jokic work, and they have to play through Ivica Zubac so they can wear out Nikola Jokic. Part of that is also just high pick and roll with James Harden, who has had a lot of success against Nikola Jokic if you look at head-to-head record, because he makes Jokic come up and have to fight through the pick and roll, and Harden's a pick and roll master, and it just tires him out. It's the only thing you can do because on the offensive end, like Jokic, he's going to have his way with you. He's too skilled. He shot 41% from 3 this season, and he started off the first 2 months shooting 50% from 3. Jokic himself said this is the best basketball he has ever played. So if SGA gets the MVP over him, hey, tip your cap, because this is the best I've ever played out there. And I think SGA will win it over him, but I think Jokic has a real case because without him, they wouldn't be a play-in team, the Denver Nuggets. Like, the rest of the roster is very flawed. So it comes down to Ivica Zubac, his defense that he can play on Jokic to a degree, but really wearing him out on the other end and just going at him and having success and making Jokic guard him. And for the Lakers in this series, I think Austin Reeves, guys, has been criminally underrated the last 3 months or so. I know Lakers fans, they know how good he's been, and they probably overhyped him in past years. Not this year. I've been saying I would take him over Devin Booker at this point. I think he offers more. I think Austin Reeves has turned into a guy that could get 25 points per game if he was on a lesser team and wasn't playing next to LeBron and Luka. But if you look, even over the last couple of months, there have been times where all 3 of them are on the floor and they're still running things through Austin Reeves. Part of that is because, your best 2 defenders are guarding Luka and guarding LeBron. So he gets the third best guy on him, and Austin Reeves, he can go at them. Like, he's so much more skilled now, especially with getting to the basket and also finding others. So I think Austin Reeves, while he is an X factor, I'm almost expecting him to play well in this series. It could be somebody like Dorian Finney-Smith. What does he shoot from the outside in this series? Is he over 40%, and can he guard Anthony Edwards well enough? Or how much is Vando going to play in this series and wear down Anthony Edwards? I think it's going to be some of the other guys like that. The Lakers' big three, to me, Austin Reeves has performed very well in playoff settings so far in this year, in his career as a Laker. So I'm not even worried about him. It's really just some of the others. Rui Hachimura, can he make them pay with his outside shooting? Gabe Vincent, who's been really good the last couple of months for them, is his shooting going to carry over? It's guys like that to me with this Lakers team. If they're shooting well from the outside with the others, this is definitely going to be over in 5 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the Lakers win that, and I actually think you're right. I think the Clippers beat Denver.
Now I feel worse about it.
But I do think they beat Denver. I do.
All right. Fred is not the kiss of death. He's not Charles Barkley. I guarantee.
Well, Charles, he's going to be working in same group, new place next year. So, he can say anything he wants now.
Fair enough.
It's not going to be held against him. Okay, at the end of it, though, Lakers, Clippers, who do you think, and you just outlined everything and did a good job, who goes further in the West?
I think the Lakers have the easier path. I do, just based upon matchups. The Clippers wouldn't match up as well against Minnesota as the Lakers do. And while the Clippers do match up well against Denver, there's only so much you can do against Nikola Jokic. I still think that's the tougher series. And then they have to take on OKC in the second round. The Lakers are getting Houston or Golden State in the second round. And I think Houston would be that would be an easier team for them to run over because of their youth and inexperience. But if somehow Houston gets past the Golden State Warriors, they're going to have a lot of confidence. The Golden State Warriors, though, have the better chance of taking out the Lakers. They beat them recently, and they can play small because they usually do anyways. That's a comfort place for them. They're good playing small. So I think what the Lakers are rooting for is for Houston to upset Golden State in the first round, so they end up taking on the Rockets in the second round instead of Golden State, and therefore they're getting to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think anybody's stopping them. Minnesota's not stopping the Lakers, and Houston isn't. The only team that has a chance would be the Golden State Warriors before the Western Conference Finals. Now, should they get there and they see the Clippers or the OKC Thunder, yeah, they could lose those series. They could definitely lose to those two teams, but that's the thing. They're on the right side of the bracket to have a chance to get to the Western Conference Finals. The matchups are more favorable for the Lakers and their path than it is for the Clippers right now.
All right. Adam, great job. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Love you guys. You know that.
Salty.
Salty A.